So lift the keys to your city. I snatch your surface down into your life. I see the signs that were here for trouble. A hard road in the left behind. Killing time on things that money can buy.
And what is up, everybody? Welcome back. It is another episode of Chris Akin Presents. And if it is another episode of Chris Akin Presents, you know there's only one person that can be here. That's that guy over there, Erik Ferentinos. That's right. The name may be mine, but the show is all his. What is up, bro? How are you, man?
I'm doing so good, Chris, and I'm happy to be here, sir, and I'm happy to see your face.
Well, yeah, it's a jewel, isn't it?
It is to me. It is to
Dude,
me.
there was nothing more fun than on the Seth show when we got Jim Norton on last week, whatever it was, and Jim Norton took a look at us and he goes, "It's a rare occasion that I'm a hot one on the show."
How did I miss Jim Norton on Seth's show? I didn't even know
Yeah.
he was on there.
Yeah, we had him on last Wednesday. Yeah. It was
How'd that
really
go?
great. It went fantastic, man. I mean, I'm such a fan anyway. And it was cool. The best part about it, what made it the most cool to me, was that we really didn't talk O&A stuff. We talked kind of TV and comedy and, anything but Opie and Anthony, which was good because I know, obviously most people would know him, I guess, from Opie and Anthony, but what hasn't been covered? Am I really
Right.
going to get into that? Hey, man, what's going on with the boys? Are you going to get back together? Are you going to put no. I just wanted to talk to him about TV and movies and stuff, the stuff I'm into. So
How long has it been since that show ended?
10,
Like 6
11?
years? Oh, wow, that long.
I think it was, well, I know Anthony got fired in 2014, and they might have lasted maybe another year as
Right.
Opie and Jim, but that wasn't the same. So to me, it ended in 2014. Once you it's like anything. It's you remove a core element of any band, show, project, movie, whatever. It's not the same, right?
No,
So
agreed.
So, well, we are going to start with me complaining just a little bit. And I'm gonna surprise people and not complain about the heat like everybody else is doing. Yes, it's hot. Guess what? I'm sweating. There's my heat complaint. Got my little fan. It ain't doing nothing. I'm just gonna be soaking wet like I played a 3-hour show tonight. That's the way it goes. What I am gonna complain about is two things, though. First, 5 minutes ago, I come in. I have avoided this room because it is hot. So I didn't come in here all day. And normally I don't need to. The computer's on. It's always on. I flip it. I flip on StreamYard. I make sure the camera works. Boom, I'm in. Worst case scenario, I might have to reboot the computer. Takes 2 seconds. Done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come in here today where I have no time. I came in here literally 30 seconds before you did, and you came in, I think, at like 59. You came in right on
I
it.
came in and then I left. I realized I hadn't done a restart on my
Right.
computer, which is bad
Sure.
luck, especially if it's been running for 2 days straight. I'm like,
Sure.
"Oh, I really should try to redo this." And so I left, and by the time it got booted up, it was like from my time zone, 4:59 in a few seconds.
It was right on. And I wasn't 30 seconds before. Honestly, I really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I come in here and my computer was off. And I was like, oh my God, what happened here? So I turned it on. It's not, it wasn't like it died or anything. I just turned it on. It ran an update or something and it shut itself off. But, and you can attest to this right at this moment, I use these little babies right here for my sound, for my headphones, this, and then this one, and then these little, where are they at? They're
These
over
wireless earbuds or something?
They're wired, but they're earbuds.
Okay.
But they're wireless as far as how they're powered.
Okay.
They're no, and because the power went off on this thing, they're dead. So again, going back to the heat that I'm not complaining about, but it's 900 degrees in here, and I gotta wear these gank, busted, taped up heavy, hot headphones.
Wow.
And I'm just like, oh, son of a.
I just kind of noticed that my I have in-ear monitors, of course.
Right.
They're pretty grody right now. Like I had these since I believe late last year.
Right.
And they are full of like earwax or something. I'm like, oh, I just because there's enough light coming into my office right now where I could actually see. I think whenever I
Right.
things out at a gig, it's like backstage and it's dark and the light,
Sure.
and I don't even notice anything. But I look at them now, I'm like, ooh,
Right.
that waxy brown shit in them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
ugh, I'm gonna have to like go in there tonight and try to take a toothpick or something to get them out of there.
I do that. See, I'm in front of the camera so much these days that I look at that now. Like, first thing I do when I grab those headphones before I stuff them in my ears is I look at them. And if it looks like I've been digging a ditch or something, it's like pull off the plastic and blow through it and clear that gunk out of there and get rid of it. It's gross, but I'm with you, and it is gross.
Yeah.
But
I bought something
go
for ears. There's like some kind of like over the counter suctiony thing, and you put some stuff in your ears. Yeah. And I bought it like 2 years ago, and I just never got the courage to try it because it scares me to stick anything in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's gonna suck my eardrum out or something,
Right.
like. But I do suffer from tinnitus in my left ear, and I've heard that sometimes a wax buildup could potentially cause that. And I was like, yeah, that's what I bought it for, but never actually went. Have you ever done it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dude, about a year and a half ago, I guess it was, I almost had to cancel a CMS. I'll give you a little history here. My right ear doesn't work. Really. Okay. I mean, I have like 10% hearing in my right ear. And it's because when I got blown up, a little droplet of molten metal went down my ear canal and burned away the eardrum. So the bones are still there, and there's a little flap of skin, I guess. And boy, if I get a cold, it's like the worst runny nose only coming out of my ear hole. It's gross. Weird. It's disgusting. It's just, I can literally sometimes it fills up so much I could tilt my head and it pours out of my ear. It's real gnarly. But I can't hear. The bottom line is I can't hear. I only have 10% hearing in this ear. So everything relies on this ear. So there was a CMS probably about a year, I guess it was about a year ago. I woke up and I couldn't hear. Like everything sounded like the teacher on Peanuts. Everything was like, and I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? So I took a couple of Q-tips and I'm trying to see if that's it. I was panicking. I was like, if I lose this ear, I have two things that I truly worry about. I don't even worry about losing a leg or an arm or any of that stuff.
The penis and the other ear, right?
I don't even care about the dick. Okay. You know what? Believe me, I'm a 400-pound guy. I'm not getting the kind of use of the dick that would make me worry about it. But I'll tell you what I do. I do hear a lot, though. I hear plenty, and I see plenty. If I lost either of those two, I'm gonna have to find my way to the judge and find a way to take myself off the planet, like Kurt Cobain potentially did. Because I do not want to be without hearing and without sight.
I don't know what I would choose if I had to choose. Like, okay, we got to take something: your eyeball, your hearing, or your dick. I don't know, man.
I'm giving up the dick. Dick's an easy give.
I'm like, what would I give up? I mean,
if you can't see, you're not going to get any good ass anyway.
Well, you could feel it, like, well, that's a big ass.
Yeah, if they stay.
Yeah. Well, she's got big boobies. I can feel that if I could just, I could hear it. You could get a prostitute.
You could get a prostitute to rub boobs and vag in your face. You really can. But you know what? If you can't see, think about not seeing, dude. If everything was black all the time.
Right. Well, that's nighttime.
Yeah, you can still see. Come on. I don't care how dark it is. You put your hand up, you can still see a shadow of it or something. Right. I'm keeping my hearing. I'm keeping my sight. I might even keep taste over my dick.
Paste?
Taste.
Oh,
like tasting food.
Oh, not tasting dicks.
No, not tasting dicks.
I'm lost. I don't know what's
No,
going
I'll
on.
leave that for the fine ladies and the less than fine gentlemen that are watching. They can taste the dicks, not me. But anyway, my ear was all clogged up. I dig around in it, nothing. I still can't hear. I dig, there's nothing in it even. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I'm like, I got to go to the doctor. Of course, it was a Saturday, so I can't just go to the doctor. It's an emergency room visit if I go. So I go up to the CVS and I get a that ball thing with the drops thing, and I dump the drops in, and I take the scalding hot water that you're supposed to put into that ball thing, and dump it into my ear. Nothing. And I'm like, oh my God. Now I'm starting to really panic. But I'm panic or not, I'm not paying $900 for them to do the same thing with a power washer and clean it out. I'm just not doing it. I'll wait till Monday if I have to, and then do it Monday when I can go to a regular doctor. So after about 4 hours, whatever that gunk is that you pour in, and I kept doing every hour, I kept doing the hot water treatment on it. After about 4 hours, it broke up and came out. And it was just like a hardened chunk of ear garbage.
Ear poo.
And, yeah, it really. But it finally came out. It came out in pieces.
How does it come out though? Like how it just on its own?
Well, I was flushing it with that hot water. So I would like lean my head and flush the hot water in, and I wait a second, I tip my head the other way. Okay. And then the water would kind of flow back out, and then whatever goop came out with it was what it was. And it finally, but it was like 4 hours. 4 hours of absolutely panicking that I'd lost my hearing. I was not happy.
So did it when you at a certain point no more chunks were coming out and you could hear again, and you're like, could you hear better than even weeks before? Or?
Not really. No, it just. I called my the next day or a couple days later, I called my friend Nancy, who's a doctor, and I was like, what happens here? What caused that? And what she first question she asked me was, do you use Q-tips? And I was like, yeah, all the time. She's like, stop using the Q-tips. She told me flat out, stop using the Q-tips. If you do use Q-tips, and this is here, Dr. Chris here for you guys. I'm going to give you some medical advice. If you use Q-tips, you only put it in just to the rim kind of, so that the tip of the Q-tip is in your ear. You don't go any deeper than that, and you just scrape around the edges.
Right.
You do not, because if you go deeper, it pushes the stuff in, and it
not like how
up.
my dad used to do it when I was a kid. Jeez, it was like torture. Yeah, he's like, I gotta clean your ears, and I was like,
they were doing it like they were roto-rooting a pipe or something.
No, I have heard that though. Like you're otherwise you're just kind of pushing it down further. You're just pushing it in there.
Yeah, and so you're packing it. You're packing it like mud or dirt.
So does the ear, if you don't go all the way in, does the ear naturally spit it out, or I don't know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still about once a week I pull out the drops and I drop in a drop or two in there. Even if I don't hear or don't have a hearing problem, I don't want it to back up even. So about once a week I'll drop a drop or two in there just to, and let it sit for a little bit, and then I'll just kind of dump it out, and whatever comes out, but I haven't had a problem since. So
good.
So there's your doctoring lesson for the day.
Well, maybe I'll try this thing. I got the suction.
You should try it. Just be careful with it. Don't make the water too hot. Don't squeeze it too hard so that you blow out your eardrum. Just kind of drip the water in. But
water starts squirting out my eyeball.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let me tell you the other horrendous. I have just had a bad afternoon for no real reason, just happened. So like we were saying, it's pretty damn warm over here. It's 95 degrees or whatever. Okay. So I when it gets this hot, I like close off into my room, because my room, if I close off my room, it stays pretty chill. It stays about 75 degrees, which is very comfortable.
The temperature here in
you suck. You suck.
69 degrees.
It's still got to be 85, 90 here right now. I was blown away. I was looking at my phone, and I have like 900 different locations on it, places I've been and places I've lived and stuff, all in my phone. So I was looking at it today, and it says Twinsburg 93, Phoenix 91. I was like, it's hotter here than Phoenix? How can this be?
Right.
You know, it's not supposed to be, but anyway, going back to my awful afternoon. So my kid was here making some dinner, some spaghetti and whatever. And I was hibernating in my little cooled off room, you know, just hibernating in there and working all day. And for some reason, yesterday and today have been all phones all day, just constant ringing. So I was laying on my bed, and it was and I'm on a phone call with a customer, right? Mm-hmm. My son hands me a plate of spaghetti, which I proceed to drop all over me, the bed, the blankets, everything.
That's the worst spaghetti sauce.
Spaghetti, and I can't even swear or go or jump up or anything because I'm on the phone with a customer. So I'm trying to get up, and I'm trying not to spew the spaghetti that's on the bed all over the floor and everything, because, you know, that's a mess. It is an absolute mess. So I'm just like, this day cannot end soon enough.
Oh, man.
Just been a bad day, but thank you, Jim Jackal. It is 87 right now here. It's 3 hours later than you are. Mm-hmm. It's warm, man.
Wow.
But anyway, we're not going to cry about the heat. I'm just not going to do it.
Well, I'm not. It's only 69.
Yeah, you're looking for a hoodie.
Bro, it's freezing in here.
It's cold.
No, it gets a little stuffy. I did get bust out the old these guys.
Right,
you
sure.
Get at Walmart or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I got one right here. This is my fan right here, the tube fan or whatever.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, this thing at night, I've got to the point where this thing, I keep it on me blowing because it does get like a little stuffy, or there's just no air circulation. So I kind of keep that going just to get through the night.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it, man. Well, one of the things I've been doing this week, let's get into something here. And I told you about this. I've been having a bear of a time sleeping, and I've just given up. You know what I mean? I've just plain given up. I'm not going to go to sleep. So whatever. So a lot of I've been working till 4, 5, 6 in the morning type of a deal. Just, you know, doing whatever and trying to kill time. Because you know as well as I do, when you can't sleep, there's nothing worse than that. Insomnia is the worst. Mm-hmm. And so I've been trying to fill it with work and with, you know, anything but sitting there going, getting madder and madder and madder because I'm not asleep. And I decided the other night to pull out Eddie Murphy Raw. Hadn't watched it in a long time. I was just looking for something that would make me laugh and would be fun to watch. And, you know, so I pull out Eddie Murphy Raw. And I watched it, and I'll be damned if it ain't still as funny as it was 35 years ago.
Right.
But it's still hilarious. Eddie probably couldn't sell all the jokes that he was telling. He told a lot of gay jokes. A lot of gay jokes.
I saw that in the movies. Like I was too young to see Delirious in the movies, but of course I saw it on cable as a kid and thought it was extremely funny. Mm-hmm. And when Raw came out, that was probably the late 80s.
Right.
I know me and my friend Travis were super stoked to go see this movie, and we were just like went together to go watch it. It did not disappoint at the time. But you're right, sense of humor, that edgy sense of humor is no longer really accepted for the most part.
No, most of what I would say a good 2/3 of Raw could not fly today, or it would be protested and everything else.
The LGBTQCWP would be all over.
Just every little thing that he says, stuff about banging Brooke Shields, you know, and stuff like that, and that calling out Michael Jackson and saying that he clearly wasn't banging Brooke Shields. And
but
stuff.
You know, Eddie Murphy, there was always word on the street that he
He
he swung both ways.
Really? I didn't.
Yeah, I had always used to hear that. Like I think, and I don't remember for sure, but there was like a story that he had got arrested with a tranny or something like that.
Oh wow!
Or he had got stopped with that back in the 80s, and then they kind of kept it quiet. I don't know if anybody else heard that rumor. It's a rumor. Yeah. It's not a fact.
I don't know that
it's
one. Yeah. Well, watching Raw, kind of, I got the urge to go down the rabbit hole of Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
So yesterday, later in the day, I watched Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2, and 3 back to back to back.
Nice.
And I don't even know how to say it other than the movies they stand up. They absolutely stand up today. There's some little things like he walks into the police station at the Beverly Hills police station that first time, and there's all the computers and stuff, and all of it looks like it's from the, Apollo 13. Right. It doesn't look very modern at all. It looks very old and tired, but that aside, the movies themselves, they're still funny. The characters are funny. The dialogue is great. They just all hold up.
The banana in the tailpipe.
That's funny too. I all of it, dude. All of the when the police captain comes up to him and he says, "Well, he brought us lunch." He's like, "What do you mean he got you lunch? What did you eat, Rosewood?" He's like, "Well, I think it was a shred." He's like, "Shut up, Rosewood."
Yeah. He just passed away. Taggart, right?
Taggart just passed away. Yeah, right. I forget what his real name is, but yeah, he just passed away. And that's a whole thing too. When you watch those things, if you really pay attention, you're like, man, half the cast is dead. Because Taggart passed away. The police chief, the one from Detroit, whatever, Chief Todd, he's dead. He was the real police chief in Detroit that was actually playing a police chief in Detroit in Beverly Hills Cop. Huh. Yeah, in real life, he was the police chief of Detroit. And then he got that role. But, he just passed away, too, not too long ago. And some of the criminals that are in the movies, they're all dead. And it's like the only ones that are really alive are like Eddie Murphy and Judge Reinhold from the stars of those movies.
They were the youngest dudes then. They were in their 20s when they made the first one. Yeah.
Well, you think Eddie was probably, that was what, his second or third movie? Because he
was probably 24 or 23 when he did that.
I think all he had done before it was Trading Places and 48 Hours. Before Beverly Hills Cop. So he was 24, 25, something like that. But they hold up. And this led me down what I think is the discussion for tonight, which is, I'm not even going to ask an if question. I'm going to ask a why question. Why is it that those movies from the 80s were so good and held up over the test of time, and the movies of today don't? Did something change? Is it the directing? Is it the writing? Is it laziness? Is it maybe they are just as good, but I'm old, so I'm holding on to the stuff that I grew up with?
Right.
I mean, I don't know, but my immediate after watching Eddie Murphy was I was too behind on the John Wick movies. So I watched the John Wick 3 and 4 yesterday as well. Okay. That was my whole day yesterday, watching movies and doing phone calls.
Sounds like it.
Fun day. But I watched the Wick movies after just to see if I was right in my thought here. And the Wick movies, they're good. I by no means do I want to say the John Wick movies are bad. But if you think about rival movies to John Wick, and I'm talking about, I don't know, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies or the Sylvester Stallone movies or the Bruce Willis movies, are they the same quality? I don't think so. Do you?
These 80s movies compared to movies today?
Yeah, like if you compared Cliffhanger to John Wick 3.
Right.
Would you think that they're on par?
Well, one obvious difference is the CGI that's used today.
Right.
Like a movie like John Wick is just so much of that and so much violence too. It's like
Right.
a hyper violence movie. You didn't see too much stuff like that in the 80s. It was a lot more practical effects. You know, and just that you're springing this on me right now, but just off the top of my head,
that's fine.
I kind of noticed that in the 80s movies, they had more real looking casting going on. Like they weren't so quick to have the Kardashian type looking people in it.
Sure.
It had like, we just watched an 80s movie the other night. I put on The Great Outdoors with John
Oh
Candy.
yeah, John Candy, right?
I wanted to see him eat the big 94-ouncer steak. That's like my favorite, one of my favorite scenes.
Right.
But in there, it was this kind of realistic casting they had going on. They didn't have just, you know, how to have the best looking people in it. They were people that had character and were legitimately funny. And no crazy CGI going on.
Right.
That one didn't really have really great music. When I think of Beverly Hills Cop, I mean, part of the magic with those was the Axel F scene. You're like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
this is a
even
great
some
movie.
of the other music, it just fit better. It really did. When you're getting The Heat Is On and stuff like that, or what was the Bob Seger movie in Beverly Hills Cop 2? Shakedown.
Shakedown, breakdown, you busted.
Yeah, I mean they did have, but that was a different era too. I mean, you remember that, dude? Soundtrack, a soundtrack to a movie in the '80s,
huge,
was as important as the movie.
Yeah, Flashdance had a better soundtrack than the movie was. I mean,
same with Footloose.
Or probably the best soundtrack to a movie that kind of stunk was Saturday Night Fever. Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
not a good movie.
My parents totally had that record. It had the Bee Gees and all this cool music on it. But that movie was awful and traumatic to see when you're like 8 years old and your parents are taking you to see Saturday Night Fever. What an awful movie and a bummer to watch.
Yeah, but you're right though. I mean, the soundtracks a lot of times I can name 10 movies that the soundtrack was better than the movie. What was the one? The biking movie,
Quicksilver. No,
not
Quick something, right? It was Quick.
Yeah, I don't remember what's the name of that damn movie.
Help us out, people.
Yeah, but it had it had like John Waite Change, which was like his first big hit after the Babies. You know, he went solo from the Babies, and then they had changes. You know, in that, which was good. And Lost Boys, Shelley's in here putting up Lost Boys. That was really, really good. Soundtrack wise. Purple Rain.
The movie was good too. But I mean, I enjoy the Purple Rain movie. I mean, if we're talking about soundtracks that were better than movies, I mean, some of these we're naming, I actually really do like those movies too.
Did you really like Purple Rain the movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Love Purple Rain the movie. Love it.
When's the last time you watched it?
I probably watched it maybe 6 years ago. I own it. It.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah. Xanadu. I love Xanadu.
Xanadu.
Maybe I'm gay and I don't even realize it. What's another? No, Desperately Seeking Susan. That movie had a good soundtrack. The movie I remember kind of stunk.
The movie was not good at all, but if you like Madonna, it was a great soundtrack. Sure.
Mannequin had some great songs. Jefferson Starship.
Sure.
Or they might have been Starship by that point, but there's some big hits in that movie. That movie stunk.
Yeah. That was the one with the gay guy that's he was also in Designing Women, right?
Right.
I don't remember what his name. Meshaw. I do know his name. God, am I gay? Meshaw Taylor. That was his name, right? Meshaw Taylor. Yeah. Why do I know that?
I don't know why you know that.
That's awful. I shouldn't know that.
You have to pull your straight card.
I know. Jeez. But the sad part is every one of these movies that I'm sure most people would say is gay music, I had all of those records. Every one of them. Vision Quest was the biking movie. Okay. Just thought of that right now. Vision
Quest.
I
saying? Quicksilver? I wasn't.
And I was going right with you with it. I was like, yeah, quick draw, Quicksilver, something. But yeah, it was Vision Quest, and that had like a Journey tune in it. What was that? Another one that had a really good sound. This was a terrible movie, so bad I don't even remember the name of it. It was John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John again. And it had the Journey song "Ask the Lonely" in it. I think it was the one where they were exercising. What was that movie?
They Yeah, that was Perfect 10 or 10 or something. Was it that one?
I don't remember. It was another terrible movie with a good soundtrack.
The Saturday Night Fever had a sequel too, Staying Alive, which that movie was a total turd, but it had some okay music on it.
Yeah, dude, sequels in general stink. I'm sorry,
it's rare they don't.
I mean, there's some. I'll say that, and I know within 2 minutes I'm going to get Godfather 2. Godfather 2.
Empire Strikes Back was pretty good.
Jaws 2. I know there's some. Before you all start throwing these at me, I know there are some that are good. But most of them aren't. Most of them, they make money, so they all of a sudden think that their idea just will live forever. And part of it is, the magic of the movie. Like, personally, I know Jaws 2 was pretty successful, and it's okay. It's a pretty good movie. It's not bad. Mm-hmm. But I watched this doc today, actually, Jaws at 50. I don't know if you've seen it. I know you like shark movies, and Jaws.
I haven't seen that. I've seen a lot of people with the commemorative Jaws shark thing, their popcorn holder. I see people on their Facebooks showing off today. I don't know if that's from a re-release of the movie or what's going on.
Yeah, I think they just re-released it over the weekend or the weekend that it was the 50th. But there's this new documentary called Jaws at 50. It's on National Geographic, Nat Geo, and which is weird that's on there, but it's really, really good. And they dug into Steven Spielberg, and they dug into the producers and talking about that it almost didn't get put out, and that it was 100 days past due, and they were still shooting when it was supposed to be. They had to shoot for another 100 days after the deadline. 100.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg, when you dig into him, and he seems like there's probably some conspiracy around that guy too, just as far as a young director that was given so much so early. You know what I mean? Making pretty big movies out of film school for huge budgets. Where you're like, really? You're giving this young guy all this?
Well, and they focused on that. They had, because they showed an interview with him during that time, and they were like, well, how old are you? And he goes, 27. Yeah. So at 27 he's getting, and he hadn't done nothing of major note,
right?
But somehow, some way, hint hint, nudge nudge, he was graced with the budget and the lack of restriction to put out this. Dude, if you went over budget 100 days today, you might never work again.
Right.
And 100 days, that's what, 3 months? Mm-hmm. That's a long time to pay actors and key grips and cameramen.
What about Back to the Future? I mean, they shot that whole movie with Eric Stoltz.
Yeah.
And then they reshot the whole thing with Matt, or what's his name?
Michael J. Fox?
Michael J. Fox, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's, just the money involved in that. How do you screw that up? How do you realize it took you had to film the whole movie before you realized Eric Stoltz wasn't the right guy for this? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. How do you not figure that out in casting? And I get it on maybe the rarest of occasion. Like, if the guy shows up drunk or stoned or something every day, okay, you got to make a change. But if the guy's just making the movie and he's just kind of average, I cannot fathom how do you watch those? How do you shoot a whole movie and then say, nope, not quite what I wanted?
Yeah,
let's
weird.
Find someone else.
It was a little interesting tidbit on that one. The actor that played Marty's dad on the first one, Crispin Glover, is that his last name?
Might be. I don't know.
Well, I know his first name's Crispin. But he's a very eccentric character, and he's a very moral guy too. And he was annoying them because he was like, I don't think the character would do this and that. They don't want to hear that, you know what I mean? But so when it came time to do the sequel, they couldn't land on an agreement to have him in the sequel. Right. But he's kind of in it. Like, you feel like he's in it because they had they actually had made a mask of his face and had the actor wearing a mask of that guy's face, and then they would try to show a lot of scenes from behind and stuff. But he ended up totally suing them for that, for using his likeness and what have you. And he there was like an undisclosed settlement for that. Actually, I don't think he got all that much money for it. I mean, it was like 1980s money, but I think they gave him like a few $100,000 or something.
Sure. His name was Crispin Glover, by the way. And still one of my favorite scenes is when he's like, Biff, did you put 2 coats on that on that car, Biff?
That was his complaint, actually. That scene.
That scene?
Yeah, that he felt that they shouldn't have had Marty's family be rich. That you don't need to be wealthy to be happy, which is actually kind of cool that he said that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but he's like, this is dumb. This family doesn't need that. They just need their own love and whatever. They don't have to be in richy rich town.
Sure. I will say, since we're talking about the sequels too, Back to Future 2 and 3, crap.
Right. They were.
I don't like either of them. A lot of people are like, they're all great. I hated them all. I loved Back to Future 1. I thought it was astoundingly good. You know, like everybody else, I wanted a hoverboard. I had the shoes. I had the jacket. I was the same. I was the 15-year-old kid that went and bought the jacket and everything else. I was a dope.
Didn't we at one point go over the Back to the Future predicts 9/11?
Yes.
Didn't we do a thing? That's fascinating. Like if you ever get on YouTube and look that up, how many clues Robert Zemeckis put in for 9/11. It's pretty insane. I mean, because we had no idea what those numbers would represent, aside from the dialing 911 in an emergency.
Right.
Up until that point, that was our only reference to 9/11. But of course, after September 11th, it dominated our whole life. Yeah. But if you look how many times that shows up on the clock tower, and the Twin Pines Mall becomes the One Pine Mall, and the DeLorean burning out creates the 11, and then there's a big 9 on the club that's on the marquee. Just all kinds of stuff that basically it was almost like a crying out of the writing of this movie. Robert Zemeckis, like he knew this information and he was trying to cryptically warn everybody about it through the whole thing. But if you get a chance to watch Back to the Future predicts 9/11, check it out.
Yeah, why not?
It's awesome.
Take a look. Good stuff. Well, let's do this, dude. Let's take a very quick break. I'm going to reset for a minute here, and then we will come back and we will go full on conspiracy theory here for pretty much the rest of the show here. So those of you that don't like conspiracies, bye, because that's about what we're going to do. So hang tight, and we will be back in a minute. It is, you know what it is. It's Chris Akin Presents. This episode of the CMS Network is brought to you by our sponsor, Blackout Coffee. If you are a coffee lover, you will love what they are selling over at Blackout Coffee. Make sure you get yourself some. The only thing woke about this company is the drinker of the coffee, because it gives you quite a jolt. I am a personal fan of the Brutal Awakening Dark Roast, but everybody's a little bit different. Make sure you get what is your favorite today. Go to blackoutcoffee.com. Use the promo code CHRIA20 to save 20% on your first order. It's that simple. So one more time, blackoutcoffee.com. That is the link, or use the full link if you're going to shop around, that is scrolling on the bottom, and get yourself some of the best coffee that is out there today. blackoutcoffee.com. And we are back right here on Chris Akin Presents. It is Chris Akin. It is the great Erik Ferentinos. And before we get into conspiracies, Erik, any project type stuff? Any band gigs that you want to announce?
Well, August 29th, I think they're going to get a double shot here in Southern California of the project and possibly Pump 5. I think both bands are going to play the record release party for the project.
Okay.
I did hear from James from the guitarist from the project and songwriter from there, and he was checking my availability.
Nice.
and so forth. We were landing on some numbers for compensation, which I love that.
Ooh,
You
like
know what I
that.
mean? It was like, oh, you're speaking my language.
$50,
Right?
I'm
Yeah.
in.
No, he was actually very, very generous, very generous. But he's a very good dude. I love him.
Sure.
And he was just kind of making sure I'd be around for that, and I wanted to do it. So I think at end of August is when you'll start seeing the bands start playing out. And I talked to him like, you really should just start taking over clubs regionally, where you
Right.
actually just take the door. Like, what does this place want to put on a show there? Give them the money, and then take it over and keep the door, and maybe have both these bands start playing from LA down to San Diego a couple times a month just to get it going. And
Sure. Get the vibe running.
yeah, it's been a while since being at that level. I realize how spoiled I am playing for a rock legend like Stephen Pearcy. It really has been an amazing life. And then you do anything less, and you're like, "Arr."
Right.
But
you go from bitching because they're trying to charge you for an extra bag in your on your trip on your airline to, hey man, nobody knows who we are. We gotta bang on some doors and let them know here we are.
It's true. You do start to, when you get spoiled out there, you start to complain about little things, and you forget how good you actually have it. You got your own hotel room, you got your flights paid for.
Right.
It's really just showing up. I mean, there's a rigmarole with it, but you're living the life, and you got to be appreciative of it.
Absolutely, man. Well, since we get to live the life, we get to be appreciative. But as people have been led to believe, the next two guys we're going to talk about did not get to live the life. That, of course, being the two gentlemen that you're in the studio with. Tupac Shakur.
How you guys doing? All right.
And, of course, Kurt Cobain. Or did they get to live the life? That is what we are going to talk about.
Did they get to live a different life after the life that they didn't get to live anymore?
Right. Did they get to live the life they wanted?
Right.
By faking the death they didn't want. I guess that's probably the way to put it.
Yeah. We were Chris and I were just coming up with topics. We've decided, like, instead of just winging it every Chris Akin Presents, maybe the night before we should have a little meeting. Yeah, a little powwow, like what we're going to do. And I one thing I love to do, if I can't sleep at night, I'm always reading stuff. And as you guys all know, I love conspiracy stuff. And a writer that I had stumbled upon probably about 8 years ago or more, Miles Mathis, which if you check out the website milesmathis.com, this guy's been doing some incredible like research papers on pretty much every conspiracy, a lot of mainstream Hollywood stuff, military propaganda, all that kind of stuff. And some of these articles are already like 10 years old,
right?
That he's done. But I was thinking about Kurt Cobain, and and then I've actually last week we were talking about Chris Cornell.
Yes,
that his death made absolutely no sense. And then that was one of the more recent papers was on Chris Cornell. And then when we brought that up and I was talking about Miles Mathis, I mentioned Kurt Cobain, and like, maybe we should do Kurt Cobain next week. And Chris was like, I'm in.
Right.
So that was the inspiration for this week. We're just going to do some more of these possibly fake hoax deaths. I mean, I'll just put a disclaimer out. And I'm sure Chris probably feels the same way. I don't know if I totally buy this.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of here's where I stand. And I'm with you. I don't buy everything. And the reason I don't buy everything is because there's so many. You talking like JFK. JFK, there's everything from Oswald to 14 shooters all around the plaza.
Is there JF Gay?
JF Gay, yes.
Miles Mathis, if you check out his JF Gay paper, you realize that this dude had a whole nother life going on.
Wow. I'm not aware of that. JFK was gay? Allegedly?
Well, at least part gay.
I know which part.
Yeah. He had a high school friend named Lem that was like his buddy, and these guys had matching bathing suits and matching outfits, and they're just this bromance was something else, let me tell you. And at one point he moved Lem into the White House with them. Now we've done conspiracy stuff on the Apollo missions, space missions of the late 60s. They actually named the Lem after his boyfriend. The big penis shaped rocket, the giant cock rocket, was named after this guy. So these are the kind of things when you read the research paper and kind of go into it, and he starts showing you the photos in there. Right. Like, oh yeah. And you know, just Hollywood in general, like the whole world is a stage. It really is. And when it comes to the movie industry, TV industry, the government has a piece of it. You know what I mean? Like most of this stuff, unless it's some kind of independent movie, the financing does usually come from there.
Sure.
And the CIA was founded in 1947.
Right.
And they've had their hand in this stuff. They've had these projects. You know, hey, maybe the project is a CIA thing that they're hiring me for here. I don't death of me. I hope not. But so all this I've come to realize, you know, there's a lot of predictive programming that goes into things. There's a lot of propaganda, especially propaganda. I mean, even if you go back to the World War II era, you know, when people used to go to the movies and stuff back then, it would be a bunch of like, buy your war bonds, you know, to be like the trailers they would show beforehand where it was just getting everybody pumped up for the war machine.
Right.
And all the movies were all just, you know, great comedies, World War II comedies. And God, who was the some of those actors from back then? That Bob Hope comes to mind.
Bing Crosby.
Right? These guys would play Navy guys doing dance numbers and
McHale's Navy, whatever that guy's name was. It was McHale.
Which, by the way, I enjoy watching a lot of old stuff.
I do too.
Susan does also. Like, we find ourselves sometimes watching movies from the 40s and stuff because it's just fascinating how the times have changed just on a history capsule basis. You know, one thing I'll say watching movies from the 40s is how much more glamorous the women naturally were.
Oh, yeah.
Glamorous, more talented. The effort that went into their hairstyles and their outfits are amazing. You know,
well, they weren't built by a surgeon. They were just naturally beautiful people.
They were. And it is something to behold. Like, that's definitely getting lost over time. And music is getting shittier over time. Just the quality of it and the level of it is definitely we're being dumbed down so goddamn much. And a big part of that is through Hollywood that they do that. I mean, probably one of the biggest distractions that there's always been is the black box, the TV, whether it's the TV or your phone or, you know, the movie screen or whatever. That's always at least in America, that's always been the biggest distraction. So, you know, reflecting on a lot of actors and stuff from the past and stars, I could see where, you know, maybe they were a industry plant or part of some kind of CIA project or something.
Well, they were blatant too, man. I mean, if you think about it, and if you remember, I mean, this is all history. It's before our time, but we've all seen it. What did they do before? Like in the 50s and in the 40s and whatever. Like now, you go to the movies, you sit through. You know, if you get there early enough, you sit through a half hour of commercials. You know, feeding you, hey, come to Bob Marhofer Ford and buy yourself a car, and, you know, and don't throw your trash on the floor here in the theater, and, you know, all those commercials. Back then, they had those propaganda movies,
right?
Those little short 10-minute news from the front here in Germany.
Right.
The Americans kicked their ass once again, beating everybody with no casualties.
Fuck around and find out.
Yes. Just don't mess with America because anybody that does dies. I mean, it was all very propagandized, you know, where I'm honestly a believer that, you know, even when you look, I don't believe that they were doing that, but not telling John Wayne's, movie company to give propaganda on that stuff as well. Make the movie so that the Americans always win.
Right.
There's a little challenge, but in the end, it's the Americans that always come out on top because America first, made in the USA.
There was definitely resentful veterans from back then that what they saw in the movies and what they experienced in real life, was pretty upsetting in comparison, and they actually did kind of blame him for sugarcoating it. They didn't quite capture the reality of war. And I'm definitely, just personally, not speaking for Chris, who is a veteran. But for me, any kind of war between any countries that involve bombing or this, I'm not down with it.
Right.
Like, I want to see the world united. And anytime bombs are going off, you can be sure the families are being displaced and killed and children are dying. And it doesn't really matter whether it's Israel or Palestine or Iran. I don't want to see any of it. And I definitely, it's disappointing to see people in my feed cheering it on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, are you even aware of what you're cheering on?
Well, they're not. I can tell you, and I don't want to turn this into a doom and gloomer, but
no.
Having served in Qatar, having been at war in Gulf War I, driving through Qatar into Iraq, seeing them scuds over my head and having them shot down by the Patriot missiles and all that stuff, I can tell you for a fact, there's nobody that is out there going, yeah, bring more missiles, man. You know what you're doing when you're there? You're going, please, God, don't let one of these slide through and hit my tent. Don't let it blow up and kill everybody that I'm here with. And you're also sitting there going, why did I volunteer to do this?
Right.
Because that's what I did. I was
a lot of veterans come back feeling that way. It's rare that they come back all proud. I think, some of the World War II guys, I think, did feel more proud of their service, liberating some of these countries from Germany or what have you. They had actually like that kind of idea that there's some people that are being, what's the word I'm looking for? Held back in some kind of way, enslaved, oppressed. Thank you, Chris. That was the word I was looking for. That are being oppressed in some way. The thought that our military could go over and save these people. I like the idea of that. I mean, it sounds kind of good.
That's a great movie or book.
Exactly. Fictional movie.
Yeah. But it ain't how it is.
Yeah, typically when we go in somewhere, it's to take over their resources or their business or something like that.
Look, I could tell you real fear that I had, and I had real fear when I was over there. I am unlike most people that just like to beat their chest and say, yeah, look at my service, man. I ain't that guy. We're rolling through the desert in an APC, and all I hear is ping, 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 hitting our APC with bullets, and I'm thinking, we are one rocket launcher away from being dead.
Oh, there was bullets hitting your vehicle while you were in it? Oh my God.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we were. I was in what they call an APC, an armored personnel carrier, the couple times that we rolled out. So it's more secure than a Jeep or a truck. I mean, it can withstand some stuff, but
isn't it kind of a tent on the top of it, though?
It's like a tank without a turret, more or less, without a turret and without a track.
I had the G.I. Joe APC I played with my G.I. Joe guys, and I had the APC.
Nice.
And it had the lid part. You put all your dudes in there, and then they had the lid that went over.
Right.
That looked like just some kind of canopy or something. Like you would get a bullet in the head, and it would go right through the top part.
This thing kind of looked like a solid steel AMC Pacer, only longer. Remember the old AMC Pacer? Like you had one end that kind of opened, and but when you're going through, you're hearing the bullets. It ain't like you don't hear the bullets, and then they're finding a position and they're parking, and they're just like stick your 16 out these little slots, and you don't know what you're shooting at. You're not really aiming much. You're just kind of throwing cover more or less, so that the other vehicles or the guys that are actually on foot can maneuver. But yeah, when I was over there, my only thought was, let me get the fuck out of here. That's all I wanted to do was maybe I wasn't the most patriotic soldier in the world.
No.
Probably true. I mean, I love my service. I love the service members. I'm proud of my service. I wouldn't do it twice. And I really had it kind of easy.
There's definitely veterans that have gone back and done it twice. Especially a Vietnam, like even that was an awful war. I think the main reason that they would go back is to help their fellow soldiers that were still there. They felt like a responsibility to help their own guys because it was so dangerous and whatever. And they just did. I've known some men like that.
Dude, I have one of my very good friends, and I will call him out by name because I'm proud of his service. My friend Barry Smallwood. He and I we ran Korea like idiot children. We really did. We were definitely running around chasing ass and drinking our faces off forever. Well, I got out of the military. He stayed for the full, I think he retired at like 28 or something. Like he stayed like the full run. And he went and I think he volunteered to go back to Afghanistan twice. 2 different times. Now, at that point, he was obviously an E9, a command sergeant major, where when he was with us, he was a sergeant, I think, or a Spec 4. I forget which one he was. But when we were running around, but he became a military man. And good on him, good on him that he did it, and he led troops to safety, and he got out safe. That was the best part of it. But, yeah, I wasn't wired like that. I was wired like, all right, did my time, got my money. Now let me get out of here and do something else.
Right. Yeah, definitely. No, we appreciate your service, certainly. And it gives us some credibility. Like we could speak out a little bit against
a little bit.
The government or whatever, because we have a guy who actually did his time in there.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I was that age, in 1990, I had was turning, or 91, I was turning 18, right around there, and we were first pulling into Kuwait or whatever, and I saw it on the news, and I was like, I think at that point I was already started to grow out my hair, and I had a guitar. I was all in on playing music, and I was like more of a hippie, pot smoking hippie. I wasn't about to go to the desert of all places. Like that was not my thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could tell you, dude, even my service had nothing to do with patriotism.
Bodyguard. You're a bodyguard.
What I'm saying is going in. I did some patriotic stuff like bodyguard and General Livesey and stuff like that. Was definitely very, very hoo-ah type of army stuff. But I went in the service because I got a full ride scholarship to go play baseball at Arizona State, and I got a partial to go play at Indiana. And my dad literally was like, okay, well, we're going to go. My dad was going to quit his job and go with me to train me because he had trained me all the way up through. And we did not have the best relationship at that point. I mean, we didn't hate each other, but I didn't want that. You know what I mean? I just I wanted to go off and do my own thing. I was a hellion. I ain't going to make no lies about it. I was definitely a hellion. And I loved smoking my pot and snorting my coke and drinking my face off and doing all the things that I was doing when I was 16 and 17 years old. I wanted to do that. I wanted to go to college and drink and bang chicks. That's what I wanted to do. And my dad said he was going to go with me to train me, more or less to keep me under control. I was like, hell no, this ain't happening. And what ended up really happening was we had a big blowout, and I went and I took the ASVAB, and I did really well on it, and they offered me whatever I wanted to do to join. So I joined, and I was underage, and I brought the paperwork home and told my dad, I said, sign it or not. And I mean, there was definitely a big argument, and big argument that led up to, well, you can force me to go to college, but I'm telling you, the minute that I turn 18, I'm quitting. And however that works out with whoever has to pay, because I walk away, I'm walking away. So they begrudgingly let me go, and I went, and I was in basic training 10 days after I graduated high school.
Did you go to college? Did they pay for college for you?
I didn't take it because I'm dumb. I went to college while I was in Korea. Like but even that was a joke. Dude, so dumb. I lived such a weird life. I'm in Korea. I'm this bodyguard guy, and they tell us, they say, well, if you have a course, they were encouraged. That was when the military was really big on encouraging education. And they were like, well, if you have courses, you don't have to come to work that day. So what did I do? I went and found the day courses.
Right.
Which is why I have a useless associate's in biblical studies, because the courses they taught during the day were the theological courses. They didn't have history and all that stuff. The stuff that most people would take, they put at night because they knew everybody was at work. So they wanted it, so that they weren't fighting against it. But they did have those theological courses over at Central Texas College, which was the college that was there, had the Yonks on campus.
Right.
And so what did I do? Intro to Deuteronomy.
Wow.
All these nonsensical courses, which were silly for me.
Still interesting though.
But it was interesting. For me, it was all about the stories. I never was like huge religion guy or anything,
right.
But that's why I ended up with that degree, was only because it got me out of work, not because I had some passion to be a missionary or something. Please. Who's more of a fuck you guy than me?
Right. We were talking about all the other conspiracies on Miles' site here. And more recently, he's called out Israel and the attack on Iran as being a CGI. They've been showing us the missiles coming down. Like, they've had to edit that a few times because the first time they showed that footage, there's some glitching going on in the buildings and stuff like that. And it would make sense that, to drum up support for such a war, that they would kind of just, they don't even have to do like a false flag as much as just throw a CGI fireworks show up there. Oh, look, Israel's being attacked. Oh, right. But anyway, he's called. That's on here too. You can find evidence for that, and that our attack on Iran might have had some CGI and some of that footage.
I watched some of that footage. The stuff you're talking about, the stuff from like 2 days ago or whatever.
Yeah,
it was,
which I have not seen. I saw the Israel stuff of them going, oh, their Star Wars thing's failing, or whatever that.
The dome or whatever, the iron dome curtain or whatever that's called. Yeah. I watched some of that, and on the first day of it, you saw all these weird lights, like a lot of them. And then the second and third day, they showed the same footage without those weird lights.
Right.
And I was like, what is going on here? Yeah, I was like, what is this? And I'm not saying that they faked it or whatever. They're trying to play it off like the person that was shooting that footage was shooting it through a window, so it was a reflection on the window. That's what I read online. I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Right. They're still like even pulling out with 9/11, like all of a sudden they got some new angle that we haven't seen in 25 years. Like, where's this been? They're just better at faking the stuff now.
I've watched 4,000 9/11 documentaries, and we're still finding new footage 25 years later. Shut up. Yeah. Just stop it. But
yeah, it's goofy.
Yeah, it is.
Now
let's move on to
moving on. Yeah, let's get the fun stuff, which is what we advertised. Get to what we advertised. I feel like we did a clickbait or something on these folks tonight. But we're gonna do is Tupac still alive? I think we're gonna start with this one. Now, I should tell you how typically Miles' papers unfold, and this is gonna be like a bedtime story for the East Coast people, because I'm gonna do some reading of this just to get it in. But even if you start at the top of this, it's kind of interesting. The photo that they used for him is going to come and play. That's pretty sexy photo there. To celebrate the 22nd anniversary of Tupac Shakur's non-death, I thought it would be fun to memorialize him with a little expose. I'll briefly touch on some of the most obvious clues about his fake death, but I will also bring many more actors literally into the mix and hit on Tupac's genealogy as well. Now, Miles always goes into the genealogy at some point and takes it back to the elite families and a lot of these key actors that we're familiar with. He can trace them back in a lot of cases, that they weren't just some dope off the street they gave acting gigs to.
Real quick before you keep reading,
sure.
If people are looking for this, and this is something that you asked me to do, and I did, the links to these papers are in the descriptions on YouTube and Rumble. So
I told
people want to
Chris
read it for themselves, it is there.
Out of respect to Miles Mathis, who I'm dissecting his hard work, I want to make sure you go to his website. He takes donations. I think he's a cat guy too. He likes cats. So he has
forgive that. I mean,
feed the kitty thing there. You could donate. Even if you're well acquainted with the Tupac death conspiracies, this paper should offer plenty of new insights. No, I will not offer photographic evidence that this famous rapper is still alive. I'm not going to show pictures of people who look like Tupac taking selfies in Cuba or Somalia or Norway. My arguments are based on nothing but simple logic applied to known facts.
Wow.
Tupac is considered one of the greatest unsolved celebrity deaths. But anyone with a computer and half a brain can solve this mystery in short order, as I did. The crypto rulers keep pushing your eyes off more important topics. This explains the title of his best-known album, doesn't it? All Eyes on Me.
Great record.
They want your attention focused on these fake artists and celebrities so you don't notice the continual theft and mental rape they perpetuate against you daily, no matter what your skin color is. Even those claiming Tupac was an intelligence agent who faked his death are usually controlled opposition. And there is plenty of that. There's plenty of conspiracy videos on hot topics like this, where you know the type where you put it on, it's got the terrible music going and dramatic. Like those I tend not to watch. And a lot of it is controlled opposition, just bullshit, mixing you up and messing with the facts. Even those claiming, okay, let me go here. Let's see. There's another, you sent me one today, but he references one called, there's a YouTube channel called Tupac Hoax Revealed, which is, it's now going on nearly 40 chapters in this big expose. He's like, most of these videos are 10 to 20 minutes long. So we're talking 10 hours of video. Do you think anyone has the patience to wade through that much video? Do you really think it takes 10 hours to expose the Tupac hoax? As you can imagine, most of it is inconsequential fluff. They mention a few good points, like the fact that the photos of the shot up car show no blood on the ground next to it, even though Tupac was supposedly laid down on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds.
Right.
But most of it's incongruous clips of people talking about Tupac and randomly slow-mode footage overlaid with creepy music. Oh, yeah, that creepy music. In one episode, there's a tangent about the color orange being associated with the occult, showing a photo of Tupac holding a can of Sunkist and then a picture of a girl eating an orange on Citibank's website, as if that proves anything. It's your typical heavy-handed, straw-grasping Illuminati conspiracist garbage. And that's the point. They tie perfectly good evidence into wacko theories about Gnosticism or Satanism to turn people off. Right. And that is the controlled opposition, that is one of their key things they'll do, is say things that are so ridiculous that anybody with any sense is going to go, oh, this is bullshit, and move away. They type, let's see. So, but the truth is always behind door number 3. And to really understand Tupac's fake death and understand the motive behind it, you have to understand what's happening with the record company that owned the Tupac brand. Follow the money. In other words, this is what Tupac's hoax revealed and other conspiracy theorists fail to look at, despite it being the most natural starting point. That they go out of their way to miss it is further proof that they planted misdirection. Now, moving forward, he says here, in the Los Angeles Times, published January 19th, 1996, 8 months before Tupac's death. He wants you to read this article. It'll shed a very clear and simple light on things. And he hits the highlights here. MCA Incorporated, this will be MCA Records, entered into high-level talks on Thursday to purchase a 50% stake in Interscope Records, the controversial Westwood-based label that Time Warner Incorporated dumped 4 months ago following a national controversy over rap music lyrics. Now, this is the 1990s. This is going on,
Right, sure.
and their gangster rap has been. People have been pointing out that hey, it's not maybe so good. People are a lot of violence going on in the world. Since its acquisition by Seagram Company, now everybody knows Seagram, the booze company, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
Since its acquisition by Seagram Company in June, Universal City-based MCA has moved aggressively to capitalize on the chaos at Warner Music Group, courting 5 ousted Warner executives and now Interscope. Interscope triggered a political uproar last year after critics accused the Time Warner affiliated company of profiting from offensive pop albums. Interscope distributes explicit rap and rock music on the cutting edge Death Row and Nothing TVT labels, whose rosters include Dr. Dre and 9 Inch Nails.
True.
Tupac's label was Dr. Dre's Death Row Records. It was owned by Interscope. The distribution rights, Interscope owned the distribution for Death Row. Warner Music Group owned Interscope, and Warner Music Group was a subsidiary of Time Warner. Music Corporation of America bought controlling interest in Interscope 8 months before Tupac's death. So there's some big moves here in the record business right before his death. And MCA itself was bought by Seagram the prior year. MCA, after the death of Warner head Steve Ross, in which the music group was increasingly disrupted by internal power struggles, leading to a string of major executive upheavals in 1994 to 95, which the New York Times described as a virtual civil war, according to Wikipedia. The man chosen to replace Steve Ross as head of Warner Music was Doug Morris, then head of Atlantic Records, a subsidiary of Warner. We then read that despite early success with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, the Morris's decision to increase Warner's stake in Interscope to 50% by the mid-1990s, Interscope Records was being seen as a liability for the Warner Group. Time Warner's board and investors had already been bruised by the damaging 1992 cop killer controversy, Ice-T, and now they were faced with renewed criticism about the gangsta rap genre, in which Interscope's associate imprint Death Row Records was a key label. Morris lost the executive battle at WMG and departed in 1995. He started a joint venture record label with MCA in July of that year called Universal Records, and was appointed CEO of MCA by November. In December 1996, MCA was renamed Universal Studios, with its music division being renamed Universal Music Group. Universal is now the world's largest company, representing artists like Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Kanye West, Jay-Z, Adele, Carrie Underwood, Eminem, Elton John, and the fucking Beatles. Basically every famous artist ever. And oh yes, Tupac Shakur. Let's unwind all this. First of all,
because I'm lost. I'm lost. What they're trying to say.
He's trying right now. He's just trying to say these huge deals that were going on with the labels.
Okay.
And why this is important to the case. Let's unwind all this. First of all, it helps to know that Seagram had bought 14.5% stake in Time Warner in 1994. That was the same year the Civil War, quote unquote, started inside Warner Music Group. This is no coincidence. Where did all the executives at Warner go? To MCA, who was bought by Seagram around the same time. That means those apparently disgruntled Warner executives never changed employment when they went over to MCA. They simply migrated from one Seagram holding to the other. At the same time these executives were migrating from Warner to MCA, Interscope, and thus Death Row Records, was also moving from Warner to MCA. But why would Warner sell one of its most profitable assets? This was at the height of the gangsta rap era, and artists like Tupac were making them oodles of money. We are told it's because gangsta rap was becoming a liability, President Bush was denouncing death row artists for their unwholesome lyrics, and Warner executives were allegedly receiving death threats. New Zealand even tried to have Ice-T's Cop Killer banned across the entire country. As a result, Time Warner stockholders were threatening to pull out of the company. Oh no! Lest you believe any of this nonsense, remember that one of the key shareholders in Time Warner was Seagram, who later acquired the whole gangsta rap portfolio via MCA. If Death Row Records was considered such a liability, why did Seagram turn around and purchase it a year later? And what happened to all the boycotts? Why did Warner execs stop getting death threats when they moved over to MCA, even though the gangster rap went with them? Where did George Bush's concern for wholesomeness go? Have you untangled the web yet?
No.
What happened was essentially a hostile takeover, but not the legal kinds we read about in the papers. This was a hostile takeover cloaked to look like a less hostile, because behind the scenes, it was really a wresting of a lesser dynastic family's assets by a greater dynastic family. And that's what it is. You know, these elites that run the world and own all these companies and stuff. They have their own little wars that go on.
Sure.
And power struggles. And, you know, this is kind of something like that we're seeing.
So well, hold on before
okay.
you start reading
Sure.
again. So what you're trying to say is this Morris guy kind of stole all the power sellers under the guise of fear.
Well, that was the public maybe perception of what was happening.
Okay.
But Seagram comes into play here because they owned both companies. They kind of, as a holding company, they just kind of moved things over and took the guy and his people and just moved them over to a different
But how does that
area.
Benefit them?
Well, it's going to benefit them. You'll see when they go to maximize their investment in this whole genre.
Okay.
By taking care of business. Let's see here. We're seeing the same thing with Harvey Weinstein. A public scandal is manufactured to enable the maneuvering of the lesser family's takeover, while at the same time offering a distraction for the public. The controversy over gangsta rap was manufactured from start to finish, which is why the controversy seemed to vanish in thin air the moment the takeover was complete. But wait, you say this still doesn't explain Tupac's death, but it does. What's the first thing a company does when it acquires a new asset? It tries to maximize the profitability of that asset. Tupac was an asset, but he was probably a depreciating one.
All right, I'll argue that point all day long. No, he was not.
As far as depreciating?
No, absolutely not.
Right.
He put out the biggest album in history.
Well, we're going to get to that.
With All Eyes was the biggest rap album in history. That
was a big album, but that was actually before this starts to happen here. That's
because that's 96. Right. I thought this was 94.
Right. We're gonna get to that, and also something that you've mentioned, I think last week when you were talking about the post-humanist records, that get released after Tupac's death. There's like 8 records came out after there, so you're gonna see some connections here. Okay. And I do thank you all for bearing with me with this good night story. But I just love this stuff. I mean, I read this kind of stuff all the time. It's great reading, and it makes more sense when it's actually broken down this way. So anyway, but wait, you say this still doesn't explain Tupac's death, but yes, it does. What's the first thing a company does when it acquires a new asset? It tries to maximize the profitability. Tupac was an asset. They knew they could only get so much out of Tupac and the gangster rap genre before it became stale. Bad fake art doesn't have a lasting value, and the crypto rulers know this, which is why they're constantly having to devise new genres and artists and musical gimmicks. So they retired the Tupac brand with a bang. It's no coincidence that a new Tupac album came out just 2 months after his death. He faked his death. Let me see here. Yeah, his faked death was just part of the marketing campaign to boost sales for the Don Killuminati, the 7-Day Theory. The album hit #1 on Billboard, selling over 500,000 copies in the first week. It was certified 4 times platinum by 1999. The album cover was designed in August, less than a month before Tupac's death, and it features Shakur being crucified. The working title of the record was The 3-Day Theory, implying resurrection. Chris can tell you that as a theology major back in the Iraq War. Do you get the joke? It's easy to rise from the dead when you never really died. The album was released on November 5th, a nod to another famous manufactured event, Guy Fawkes, which I'm not really familiar with who that is. Do you know who Guy Fawkes is? Okay, me neither. I'll have to look him up. Since Tupac's death, he has released 6 albums of new material. That's quite prolific for a dead guy. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that all the executives running these record labels and the ones who are making all the money from Tupac's death are, drum roll please, Jewish.
Uh-oh.
Goodbye,
YouTube.
Yeah, goodbye, YouTube. Well, I mean, he's just stating, facts. He's not saying anything negative about Jewish people or anything. The entire music industry, like the film industry, is run by Jews. Steve Ross was born Stephen Reichnitz, and he was Jewish. Doug Morris is Jewish. David Geffen, founder of Geffen Records, which later merged with Interscope and is now owned by Universal, is Jewish. Jack Holzman, head of Elektra and Non-Such Records and later executive at Warner, is Jewish. Jimmy Iovine, who co-founded Interscope and first signed Tupac back in 1991, is sold to us as Italian, but Sean Puff Daddy Combs called Iovine and model Liberty Ross's 2014 wedding the blackest wedding with a rabbi he'd ever seen. It isn't admitted that Liberty Ross is Jewish, so why is a rabbi officiating their wedding? Jules Stein, co-founder of MCA, was Jewish. Lastly, there are the Bronfmans, the Canadian Jewish family that founded the Seagram distillery. So
they're also the ones that their daughter was the one in that cult. Nexus.
Oh, the Nexus. Yeah, that was a weird story.
But she was involved in that. I recognize that.
Was she a recruiter? Was she one of the recruiters?
Yeah, she was one of the higher up people in that.
Chris is talking about a sex cult, by the way, which could be a fun topic in the future because we love sex. Anyways, let's see. Seagram was the largest owner of alcoholic beverage brands in the whole world. I bet you didn't know the largest record company in the world, MCA, and the largest film and entertainment company in the world, Universal Studios, were both owned by a beverage company, did you? Or that this beverage company was owned by the president of the World Jewish Congress. That would be Edgar Bronfman Sr. As WJC president, he facilitated the immigration of Russian Jews into Israel during the Cold War. Bronfman's wife, Ann Loeb, was from the Jewish Loeb family that started American Express. And her mother was Frances Lehman of the prominent Jewish banking family. Bronfman's mother was Said Rosner. Note that name, which sounds a lot like Resner. The vowels have been swapped, but it's the same name. See my footnote, and you could put the pieces together yourself. Trent Reznor is really Trent Rosner, related to all these famous Jewish financiers and business magnates.
Right.
The hostile takeover I've unwound for you comes full circle with the Bronfmans. In 2004, Warner Music Group sold to a group of investors led by Edgar Bronfman Jr. for $2.7 billion. Why are we so big on the screen? What happened there?
I just switched off of the reading.
That looks like shit. Let me see. See my foot. Okay. The hostile takeover unwound. So yeah, that was a pretty big purchase there. Warner Brothers Music Group sold to a group of investors led by Edgar Bronfman Jr. for $2.7 billion, and Bronfman became CEO. It looks like the Bronfman orchestrated the whole thing, and it may have been his idea to fake Tupac's death to cash out his investment. After stripping Warner of everything valuable, he went back a decade later and bought it outright just for the heck of it. Thus, Tupac's death makes much more sense as a hoax, but you don't need any context at all to know that there's something amiss with his death. And now he references the comedian Chris Rock.
Right.
Chris Rock did a stand-up bit on Tupac. And I can't really do the Chris Rock voice, but I'll try it. They don't arrest anybody who kills rappers. They don't got no clues, no suspects. They don't have shit when it comes to a dead rapper. They don't fill out a police report. They don't even have a chalk line when it's a dead rapper. Tupac was gunned down on the Las Vegas Strip after a Mike Tyson fight. Now, how many witnesses do you need to see some shit before you arrest somebody? You mean to tell me they could find Saddam Hussein in a fucking hole, but you can't tell me who shot Tupac? They found Saddam Hussein in fucking Iraq. Tupac got shot in Vegas. Not in no side street. The mofo got shot on the strip in front of Circus. Rock gets it, and he's giving you the answer without outright giving you the answer. Do you see how, by the fact that the absurdity of his death still being unsolved is worthy of a stand-up routine in the first place? It's a big joke. We all laugh at the joke without really getting it. The definitive book on Tupac's death is The Killing of Tupac Shakur by true crime author Kathy Scott. Her other notable book is Murder of a Mafia Daughter on the killing of Jewish mob daughters Susan Berman by the Jewish real estate mogul and suspected serial killer Robert Durst. A currency glance at the details of that crime reveal it to be another manufactured absurdity, which also took place in Vegas. Berman and Durst met while attending UCLA in 1967. Berman later got journalism degree at Berkeley. These are both top spook schools. Let me kind of skip down a little bit here, get away from the genie.
Here all night.
Yeah, I know we are. No, sorry. I mean, it's probably a 9-page paper.
No, it's 19.
Well, let me see here. Let's skip to this. Did you know Tupac's body was quickly cremated and that there was no funeral service? Conspiracy theorists have tried to make sense of this for years, or else just ignored this fact entirely. But knowing what I've discovered, it's an easy fact to explain. Why bother having a funeral for someone who didn't die? Maybe they under budgeted for this project and ran out of money before they could stage a fake funeral. Or maybe they thought his family members weren't good enough actors to fake sadness at his fake funeral. And we've talked to this too, like with the Challenger family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I go, they didn't look like they just saw their family get blown up. They weren't good actors, you know, and they later had to explain why they didn't have any emotion at the time or anything.
Right.
The cremation bit sounds like a half-baked story to explain away there being no funeral. Suge Knight, who was driving the car in which Tupac was gunned down, said that, quote, the person who supposedly cremated Tupac, this guy got about $3 million personally from me in cash. And next thing I know, I never heard from the guy or seen him again. He retired, he left. Boy, does that sound made up. Why would Suge Knight pay $3 million to have Tupac cremated?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's like paying somebody $100,000 to wash your car.
Yeah. And look, as somebody that worked at a crematory, it costs about $1,000.
Right. This guy got $3 million to carry that out. Yeah, right. Suge himself was shot in the side of the head, yet he somehow survived. Las Vegas Police Sergeant Chris Carroll, that's a CC. I meant to bring this up with Chris Cornell too when we were talking about him last week. I missed that his name is another CC. Whether it's Christopher Columbus, Chris Cornell, Chris Carroll, the CC is 33. And when you in the numerology of the numbers of the alphabet, A, B, C is 3, right? Is the third letter. Mm-hmm. And when you put that together, it's 33. And we've talked about that coming up all the time. In Las Vegas Police Sergeant Chris Carroll, who was a first responder at the scene, said this in a later interview. Suge is shot in the side of the head. He thought he was dead. When I was looking at Suge, I couldn't believe that this guy was running around like nothing's happening while he's got a hole and blood flying out of his head. And he's just acting like nothing's going on. I would say that sounds all accurate to me. Of course, none of that sounds accurate because it's ridiculous. If blood were flying out of his head, he would have quickly lost consciousness and not been running around. Tupac not dying also explains the inconsistencies in his coroner's report, such as the fact that it lists his weight at 215 pounds.
Yeah, no.
While his driver's license says 168 pounds. That's a pretty big difference. What did he eat? A kangaroo before he died?
I was going to say, I met Tupac. He did not weigh no 215.
He's a little dude
guy.
like me,
like
right?
Five. No, he wasn't as big as you. He wasn't as tall. First of all, he was like 5'6".
Oh wow, that's really I'm barely.
He was shorter than me.
Yeah. The biggest I get up to when people are making fun of me for being fat, I sometimes get up to closing in on 200 pounds or something.
Right.
Even late as last year, I was weighing in at the doctor's office at like 197, which is pretty big for me, a guy my size. I'm happy to report that I took that down. I'm like 189 right now, and I'd like to get down. But anyway, enough about me. Let's see here. That's okay. We were talking about eating a kangaroo, blah, blah, blah. They talk about, let me see. Oh, the difference in the weight. In fact, the difference is 47 pounds. Other skeptics say this was a slip up by the forgers, but it's not a slip up at all. It's an intentional signal. 47 is year one of the CIA. And we have seen that number all over the place with these projects. They do put in code these projects. I found I went through the conspiracies that I've gone through, Chris, in my last 15 years. They do put secret codes, and like the number 33 will pop up a lot, or number 47, or aces and eights will come in, and I think it's a way to code it to each other, to those families, that they know actually what's going on with it. But we have seen that number all over the place with these projects. For further evidence, the published coroner report blocks out the first 3 and the last 4 digits of Tupac's social security number, but they leave the 2 middle numbers visible. Guess what those numbers are? 47. Why wouldn't they just black out the entire social security number? Because it's a signal. It's marking this whole charade as an intelligence project. Now check out.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop for 1 second.
Oh, gladly.
Who are they signaling?
Well,
wouldn't the people that are involved already know? So they don't need to be signaled.
Well, there's actually several elite families behind,
but they wouldn't know, or they couldn't pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Doug, did you guys secretly have this guy fucking killed?"
Well, that's a good question. I'll put that in the question box.
Yeah, I'm just like, why would they need to signal anybody? Because they're the ones that did it.
There is okay. Have you ever
did it right?
Have you ever watched Red Dawn? The movie Red
I've watched
Dawn.
Red Dawn. Yeah.
Do you remember that scene when they're listening to the shortwave radio, and the person's like, the chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, they're signaling through that. I mean, signaling has gone on forever in military purposes and what have you. And they're saying one thing, but it means another. I mean, that's my only answer for you. I mean, why did they do that? Why did they give signals on the on the airwaves to soldiers and stuff? What's the point? Why not just say what they want? I mean, I could put the question back to you for that. But let's see here. Now check out this forum where someone did a little bit of sleuthing and claims to have found out Tupac's social security number was issued in the state of California in 1977, even though Tupac was born in New York in 71. So that's fishy, because I don't know if you realize, but your social security number tells a lot about you.
Sure.
Mine, I'm not going to give my social security number over the show right now, but mine would.
What? Why not?
But mine, because I don't have Life Alert or whatever whatever that thing you pay for, LifeLock. But anyways, it would, if you looked at my number, it would reflect that I was born in New Jersey, off of there.
Right.
So Tupac was actually born in New York in 71. According to Tupac's security number is still considered an active number, meaning it belongs to a living person. And that person apparently lives in Quincy, Florida. Get the clue? Quincy Jones was Tupac's almost father-in-law. He has a footnote on Quincy Jones noting that his ancestors include Adams, as in John Quincy Adams, Guess who Quincy, Florida is named after? It's named after John Quincy Adams. Do you really think Tupac is living in a small, poor, landlocked town in the Panhandle? No, it's just another signal. Now they're going to get into Tupac's genealogy, which he'll point out that Tupac is actually, he believes to be Jewish.
We can hold on. Yeah. We don't need to go through all that.
No, I'm not. I'm skipping that. But there is where I wanted you to go. Do you see that picture? Mm-hmm. He wants you to take a look at the photo. He goes, take a good look at Tupac's face. Do you see it? He looks very Jewish, doesn't he? We've been conditioned not to notice Jewishness or question ethnicity in general. And because he's black, we naturally don't question it. But Tupac has all the Jewish markings: a long face, a long, slightly downturned nose, sunken eyes, the long eyelashes, a big, bushy eyebrows. He doesn't just look sort of Jewish. Aside from his skin color, he looks full on Jewish. Do you know that his fiance at the time of his death was Jewish? That would be Kadada Jones, daughter of composer Quincy Jones and actress Piggy Lipton. You may know her sister as Rashida of Parks and Recreation.
Oh, yeah.
Fame, right? That's Kadida. Okay, so if you go down that picture there you see of the family, that's Kadida with her parents as a young child. Okay. Her mother's best known for playing flower child Julie Barnes in the ABC show The Mod Squad. Now I'm gonna skip down here and I'm gonna spare you guys all the genealogy and the Jewish outing here. And I'm going to get down to, was Tupac gay? Okay.
Well, hold on. Before we go to that part, I want to question kind of everything we've read to this point.
Okay.
And here's why. There's so much, not only stories of it, but footage of the whole thing, which is just not being referenced at all here, which is the actual situation before his death, which led to his death that night. The big fight at the MGM for
the Mike Tyson fight.
But the fight in the casino is what I'm talking about. The fight that Tupac and Suge and the Crips, what's his name, Anderson from the Crips, that Tupac kicked his ass. So you're saying none of that matters? Or he's saying none of that matters? And that it couldn't be one of the Crips that just... I don't know.
Well, he did reference... Sure. He did reference that, the Chris Rock stand-up routine, which this was a very popular spot on the Strip.
Sure.
The fact that this would still be an unsolved crime.
Well, and I agree with that part. But the shoddy police work aside...
Right.
It's more plausible to me that he was actually gunned down because he was acting like an asshole at a casino to a gang, and the gang chased him down and shot him. That's more plausible.
It sounded, to me at the time, my recollection of history, in which I wasn't a big conspiracy nut at that point. But no, the story made sense, especially with the whole gangster rap and the feuds between the West Coast and East Coast and, whatever, Crips and the Bloods. Any kind of gang violence is plausible. So I didn't really question it. And in fact, right around that time, I was looking up a lot of death stuff. Like the internet was now a thing. And I would go on those sites that would just show like dead bodies of people and
like Ogrish or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember which one I used to go to. I forgot which one it was, but it had a lot of the death scenes of people. It had like the Slipknot guy that killed himself, and it had one of Tupac, like allegedly
on autopsy
photos. Did you ever see that one? The autopsy.
I was going to put it on the screen, then I decided not to.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we'd have to put
I think YouTube would immediately ban the channel.
I didn't know what to think of that. Like, because how with like Faces of Death, it turns out that most of it was fake shit.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting that we were able to see a picture of Tupac allegedly on this table, that would get out in the public internet. I kind of did question that. I was a little surprised that would be available as a dead person, a real dead person on there. It's not much you could tell. It did kind of look like him, but you know, Photoshop's been around. Jerry C wants you to put the pic up, Chris. I don't think it's real anyway.
Well, I'm just gonna say this, Jerry C. Just use your little Google machine and type in Tupac autopsy photo Reddit. 400 copies will come up, because that's what I just did.
Do we still have an audience, or did I chase them away with reading reading stuff?
Watching.
Okay, good to know. He does go in a little bit here on this article with the what is this? More evidence. Oh, Intellius. Have you ever heard of Intellius, where you can like look people up? It's like a website for looking up people.
Okay.
I don't know if you might have to pay money for that. But if you wanted to find somebody and get their address or, you know, these sort of things, that's one of those websites. You can do that.
And they're saying Tupac is on that?
Well, I don't even remember reading this part, but it says more evidence Intellius is messing with us. If you search for Tupac Shakur on Intellius, you get 57 hits. In addition to the actual Tupac Amuro Shakur at the top of the list, you get several oddities. Tupac Amiri Shakur related to Afene, who has worked at Rated All Incorporated. The third one, you get Tupac Shakur related to Shakur, who has worked at EMI Music and has lived in Boston. You get Tupac Shakur, who has lived in New York suburbs and worked as Grandmaster Flash, which in the real world is a rapper, not a company.
So there's wait a minute. So they're saying that Grandmaster Flash was really Tupac's brother or father or something?
Well, not necessarily, but he's saying when he's done this name search, these weird like anomalies are coming up. There's a Tupac Shakur, age 37, 10 years younger than the real Tupac, who has worked at Interscope and celebrities galore. Stranger still is that the real Tupac Shakur is listed as having lived in Westfield, Massachusetts, Harrelson, Stone Mountain, Georgia, Goshen, Indiana, and Modesttown, Virginia. Modesttown has less than 200 residents and is in the middle of nowhere. Do you really think Tupac ever lived there or any of these places? If so, none of his official biographies ever mention it. Now he goes on to say, let's talk about Tupac's real name. Did you know that's not his real name, Tupac Shakur?
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, it is not his real name. Tupac's first name is Lasan. I'm assuming it's pronounced that way. It's spelled Lesane.
Okay.
Would you say Lasan?
Lasani or Lasan or something?
No, I mean, if I was to think of how I've heard other black names pronounced, I would say this would probably be pronounced Lasan. I'm just taking a educated guess there. You would expect it to be a family name, but it's nowhere to be found. Actually, it's not quite true. We discovered Tupac's cousin was Jamala Lasan, but again, we run into more oddities since her brother Tupac's other cousin was the rapper Castro, aka Qatari Terrence Cox. That would make Lasan Jamala's married name, but Tupac would have been born well before his cousin married Lasan. So even supposing Alice named Tupac after her niece's husband's family, which makes no sense, the timing doesn't add up. Goes into some more name stuff on his name, some ancestry. Now, let's go down a bit till you see the picture of Tupac wearing the kind of girdle thing. A little further than that, Chris, right there. Now, this is where I am. I skipped down here because this was taking a little bit of a time. This is a leather corset photo. The leather corset strikes me as more than a poor decision on the part of Tupac's stylist. It seems intentionally effeminate. The bandana tied in front like that puts us in mind of the "We Can Do It" woman. Remember we were talking about World War II propaganda earlier, Chris? The "We Can Do It" woman would have been the one that's in the factory when women started World War II, started working in the factory, and there's that picture of that woman that's got the bandana on. And have you ever seen that before?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what he's referencing there. The "We Can Do It" woman, or Aunt Jemima. Yeah. Aunt Jemima's another one that does that, but those are both women. I can't. He goes on to say, I can't imagine any real niggas today being caught dead with an outfit like that. I also can't imagine any real niggas. He puts dots in between the
Yeah,
letters
that's
here.
the spelling on.
This-
I think it's Apocalypse.
Is that
the Apocalypse record?
is it a
That's
Tupac
song.
record?
That's
Oh,
a song.
okay. I also can't imagine any real niggas subjecting themselves to a degrading nude bathroom photo shoot. And that's the one that was at the top of this whole thing that we started with.
Mhm.
That weird thing. He can't imagine any real guys doing that. With a gay celebrity photographer, David LaChapelle. Do you know who David LaChapelle, the
I've heard the
photographer,
name,
is? Yeah.
Mhm.
He's the one that did that bathroom bubble shot. Then again, Tupac was not one of the real niggas, at least not in the gangbang and misogynistic sense in which it was understood in Tupac's time. To the contrary, Tupac attended the Baltimore School for the Arts, which offers art concentrations in vocal music, instrumental music, theater acting, theater production, dance, visual arts, and film. Tupac's passion was theater acting and Shakespearean plays, particularly. And he also took ballet classes there. Nothing wrong with that, you will say, and there isn't.
See, but this is I'm
Right?
stopping. I'm jumping in on this.
All right.
This is mixing and matching a bunch of shit that is making less sense with his mix and his match.
Not really.
Was he a planted operative, or was he a faggy art student?
Both.
How could he be both? One
saying,
to be a plant, you got to have training to do that.
Right.
But he's not getting the training to do it because he's in art school.
Have you ever seen like some of these actors that we watch in comedies and TV shows? They actually are like Juilliard trained actors or whatever.
Sure.
You know, they in a lot of cases the role that they're taking is way beneath them, but it just pays a lot and they do it. You know what I mean? In this case, I think it shows that the persona that this guy was putting on was a total act, and which I'm about to get into.
Okay.
Let's see. So Tupac's passion was theater acting and Shakespearean plays, particularly, and he also took ballet classes there. Nothing wrong with that, but the stereotype of the gay theater actor is a stereotype for a reason. They are often very gay. It's also known that Tupac would make his family perform dancing and singing routines together, and he especially loved to play Prince. Next, I point out this interview with Tupac at age 17 while he was still in high school, which it's worth asking why this interview happened at all. Tupac was a nobody when he was 17, so why is anybody even interviewing? Go down a little. Look at this picture here, Chris.
Yeah, I've seen this interview, actually.
I mean, you can look right at that photo, and this guy's Fruity McTootie.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
Not sugar free. I want to go back to the question of why was anybody interviewing Tupac though, and I'm just throwing it out there why they might have been, because the official story about his his mom was, what was her name, Afina or whatever. That the official story that she was a mover and a shaker in the Black Panthers.
Right.
So it does make sense that they might be talking to her son to see if he was radicalized like she was.
That's potentially, that could be true. I mean, I do remember that Black Panther connection there. But I guess in this interview, we're not hearing it, but it says, listen to his voice and notice his hand movements and the way he holds himself. It's very effeminate, isn't it? Compare that to later interviews and video footage of Tupac after he assumed the gangster persona. The change is, well, dramatic. You'll say he missed his theater calling by becoming a rapper, but I don't think he did. His thug rapper persona was an act. It was the part he was chosen to play, and he stayed in character like the true method actor that he was. I'm not being speculative here. Listen to the way the comedian Marlon Wayans talks about Tupac, and then they quote Marlon Wayans here of the Wayans brothers. You know what was great about Pac? Everybody thinks he was this thug, this gangster. First of all, he was a performance high school kid. Pac was very smart and he was very silly. He was a clown. He wasn't a real gangster, but he acted gangster. He was a method actor. So he went a little too far. I could tell he wasn't a gangster because he had the softest hands. No gangster has hands like that. I called him a Palmolive thug. He'd be like, "Come here, you want some of this?" And then he'd give you this gentle hand. It was soft. Hand job? Is that what he's saying? I don't know. Then he had these long eyelashes looking like Snuffleupagus. Just like, you don't want none of this. I'm a thug. Wayans, by the way, claims to have talked with Tupac on the street outside the Mike Tyson fight just minutes before he was allegedly gunned down. That Wayans claims Tupac went a little too far with his method acting is worth thinking about. Is it possible that Tupac was on the verge of inciting a real revolution among young black men? Possible. Had he absorbed the role of the Black Messiah a little too eagerly and forgotten to stick to his cues? This may have been a factor in the decision to retire the Tupac project, or else a sign that the time was ripe to kill him off as a deterrent to any real revolutionary activity among the black community. These projects also work on several levels. In addition to the massive profit gained by it, his fake death also helped foil any momentum that was building among America's frustrated black youth, who were even more screwed and just plain screwed by the families, meaning the elites, than young white men are. They did the same thing with MLK and Malcolm X, and Tupac was just next in the iteration of that long-running project to keep a real black power perpetually cut off at the knees.
But what? All right. This thing is frustrating the shit out of me. There's a huge difference in movement of an ideology with MLK and Malcolm X versus Tupac.
Right.
If anything, and again, I'm trying to remember as best as I can of Tupac in 96. And I'm a fan. I'm not going to make any bones about it. I am an absolute fan of Tupac and was at the time. Well, not like I didn't become a fan after. I followed along even through like Poetic Justice with Janet Jackson, the movies and stuff. I was a fan of Tupac. But he was more or less where Malcolm X and MLK were seen as like a threat because it was because they were causing a rise of black power.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tupac was the exact opposite of that. There were more white kids buying Tupac music than there were black kids buying it. If anything, right. Eazy-E or Dre or NWA, the NWA crew or Ice Cube,
Public Enemy, I would have said Public Enemy.
PE as well. Yeah. They were way more legitimately dangerous than Tupac. So why was Tupac the one that was elevated?
Right. Well, that's because it's controlled opposition. If you want to squash the movement, you have to lead it. That's the whole point. But
he wasn't. That's what I'm saying.
No, he was. Well, that's. I mean, all these. The whole gangster rap scene was a whole project in itself.
Sure.
And there's been other conspiracy talk about the record companies intentionally creating these bands for a reason, to keep the prisons full. One thing we're pretty much done with the Tupac thing here, but it was interesting little tie off here that kind of ties in what we're saying here.
Sure.
If blacks were really being revolutionaries of any sort, why would they tie themselves to the name gangster? That term has a whole lot of negative and white connotations and links, doesn't it? Including bankster. Gangster and bankster is very similar. And the mafia. We saw many links to the actual mafia above, didn't we? Including Al Capone. That should knock something loose in your head. It indicates that the whites and the Oreo cookies running this project aren't referencing inner city black gangs with the title gangster rap. No, they are referencing themselves as usual. The Jewish gangsters, the banksters running the world and ruining the world for profit. Gangster rap is bankrolled by the same people bankrolling everything else, so it might as well be called bankster rap. Haha, I like that. Of course, I am not the first person to suggest that connection, and you may wish to dig a little deeper, no matter the color of your skin. There are many blacks all over the country saying similar things, though they are almost never covered by the media. But if you keep your ears open, you will hear from them. and good night, everyone. No, obviously we'll have to do like a part 2, for this show, because we didn't even get to Kurt Cobain. This was so fascinating.
We'll do him next. We could do Cobain next week.
Yeah, this is
because believe it or not, I know way more about the Cobain thing than I do about Tupac. But I can actually add something to the Cobain stuff. But
that'll also give me more time to kind of go into some of
a little bit. Yeah,
rip through it and the documentaries that were made.
Sure.
One of the ones on Cobain, the Montage of Heck, I think was one of the more recent ones that came out. Miles thinks that weird title, it's a very weird title for a movie. He thinks it's an anagram.
Maybe.
He thinks that if you scramble those letters up, it actually says something completely different.
Right.
And apparently Kurt's mother wrote this movie.
Okay. Wow.
Weird. Yeah, it's a little weird. So the Kurt thing, there's a lot to dive into with that. So I'm going to do a little more research. Maybe we could rewatch some of the docs that are out there. Montage of Heck. There's a Kurt and Courtney, right?
I watched a zillion of them, so I'm well prepared to that.
I mean, I never questioned Tupac's death. I thought it was a legitimate gang shooting. I never put it together that he might be Jewish and gay, or that he was a planted person in that. Like this, it all kind of makes sense in hindsight's 2020, and we can look at these photos and go, oh yeah. But I really believed it all at the time. I mean, I was pretty much went along with that narrative. With the Kurt Cobain thing, it sounded fishy as hell. I mean, if you look at the evidence, it's clear that Courtney Love looks like she had a hand in it. I mean, she was definitely had solicited people to have him killed. She had practice suicide notes where she had been practicing. I mean, everything just leads to her.
Dude, in the document, I'm going to tell you right now something. Did I send you the Kurt Cobain one that I was watching, or did I just send you the Tupac one?
Just the Tupac, I believe.
There's a link. I'll send you the link for the Cobain one. Because the guy that was doing the Cobain one said something so stupid that I wanted to reach through my screen and punch him in the face.
No.
He was talking about just what you were saying, that the writing in the suicide note clearly is written by somebody else, which I totally think was.
Right.
And this guy says something to the effect of, well, I've been married, and I could tell you from experience, married people practice signing in the other person's handwriting.
Given a plausible excuse.
Yeah, and I was like, I was married for 23 years. I never did that one time. Not one time.
You never practiced writing your wife's suicide note?
No. Believe me, I wish I would have now.
Everybody does
maybe
that.
I should have. But yeah, he said that, and he says it deadpan, like it's a fact. And I was like, there's no married person that's ever done that ever.
Right.
It's nonsense.
What else can I say? Everyone is gay. I'm jerking these guys off. One thing they'll get into is that we'll talk about next week is it was Kurt Cobain gay, because they believe that he might have been that Courtney was just a beard for him.
Yeah.
That they were a weird couple. I have to say,
they were odd. And
she's not the woman I would expect.
No, she's a former stripper, and
she was a big hoe.
Yeah, and her band was named after her crotch.
Totally, like it didn't make sense. Like he seemed a lot more sensitive and caring person, and she seemed so ruthless and taking a shit on her record exec's desk. And I don't know, man. I always did kind of question the relationship, and I always thought they always looked strange together. Like she seemed way more masculine than him anytime they
she's odd. She's odd.
So
I've met her too. She's an odd bird.
Right. I mean, she was surprisingly a good actress, I have to say, on the Hefner movie.
She was good in the Hefner. She was good in
No, it wasn't Hefner. It was not Hefner, excuse me. Larry Flint.
Yeah, she played Athena.
Larry Flint.
She played Athena.
She was great in that.
Yeah, she was great in Sons of Anarchy too, as the teacher in the. What a weird! You want to talk about a weird show? That show sailing along as a biker killing biker show, and all of a sudden the last year of it, you got Marilyn Manson and Courtney Love as featured characters.
Right. just real quick,
Yeah.
just in general, whether it's Han Solo or Indiana Jones or whatever, these are great characters of history, but there's an actor named Harrison Ford, playing these people, and when the roll's
Sure.
over, the roll's over.
Mhm.
And it's, as we started this show tonight, and I said all the world's a stage. I at this point do have an open mind when it comes to, is the CIA placing these operatives into
Sure.
these scenes as a distraction, for whatever purposes, to keep prisons full, starting gangster rap. All these types of things are plausible to me. I mean,
Right.
the music business is such a weird bird of what people consider to be
Mhm.
quality music. Like, in my opinion, there hasn't really been any. Maybe the 80s was like the last of some of the quality stuff coming out, and it's
Sure.
just been garbage ever since. And even a
Mhm.
lot of the stuff guilty pleasures I like, is kind of garbage at the end of the day,
Right.
compared to the early jazz or classical music or anything like that. That's
Mhm.
so higher minded.
Sure.
We're to a point now where music will just make you stupid within the 3 minutes of
Yeah.
listening to it.
Our music is digital McDonald's. Now.
Right. Yeah.
Now it is. That's really what it is. It's all throwaway, not really good for you, not very
Cheap and easy to produce.
Yeah.
And they really have been kind of destroying the arts for a long time, and now here we are in 2025, and whether it's music or art, period, it is being destroyed by what? AI.
Mhm.
They finally cracked the code, and they're going to
Yeah.
destroy it. They're going to own it all, and there'll be no more artists making a living anymore here shortly.
Maybe.
Right.
And we can talk about that as well next week, because I watched another documentary about that this week.
Great.
Or it's not really a documentary as much as it's an active lawsuit going on that I was telling you about earlier about Midjourney versus Disney, and
Right.
And if that goes through, that's going to end AI.
Good.
AI is at a very it's at a very crucial point right now, and I don't think anybody knows it. It's not a huge story, and everybody's freaking out about losing their jobs and everything about AI.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll put this out there for people. This is your homework, people, for next week's show. There's a court case right now. It's Disney and Universal versus Midjourney, which is the major AI creator of graphical work,
Right.
and they're suing for them scraping the. I watched it twice.
They're an AI engine, right, or something?
They are
basically?
an AI engine,
Okay.
and you can put in there, like you were saying to me earlier, you can put in there Yoda and Darth Vader having a fight or something, and it'll make you a graphic.
Look at this. I put in Tupac and Kurt.
And there they are.
There they are.
Now, Universal and Disney's argument is you're stealing our intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
Midjourney's argument is no, what we're doing is we're scraping the internet just like Google has done for the last 25 years of all the information, and we're just processing it out. We're taking all the information and processing it the way people are asking for it, just like you would with a Google ad or something. That's
bullshit.
what they're saying.
It's like when Uber was like getting sued, and they're like, "No, we're not a transportation company.
Yeah, right.
We're just an app. We're just an app." And it was like,
Right.
"No, you guys are a transportation company, and you need to pay taxes. You need to pay your employees. It's the same kind of defense they're putting, and they're probably gonna lose, but they end up doing a lot of payoffs and agreements, and
that's what this lawyer said too. This lawyer said it looks like Midjourney's going to get their ass handed to them, or these companies will make some kind of a subscription deal, a licensing deal.
We're soon to be paying for all this. This
yeah.
free tech that Chris and I have been having so much fun with, is soon to start costing a big monthly fee.
It's gonna be part of your life, dude. Let me tell you how. And I know we're just rambling here before we wrap it up. I'll give everybody else and you as well, Eric. I'll give you guys a free TV if you want one. Would you like a free TV?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm asking. Would you like a free, 100% free 55-inch TV? Would you like one?
I don't think they would.
Would you?
Would I like one? Maybe.
Yeah. Would you like a free?
I don't even watch the 55 one sitting right over here. I haven't turned it on since I moved in.
You could get it and sell it.
Okay.
You'd like that, right?
Maybe.
There's a company out there, telly.com, TELLY.com. I encourage everybody, if you want a free TV, to go to telly.com and sign up. Here's what they do, though. You're going to love this. You got your TV set up on your stand just like you would any TV. Then there's your speaker bar underneath it. Then there's another bar underneath it that runs advertisements full 24/7 as long as you're in front of the TV. It's running advertisement on it. And it has a sensor in it that detects motion and how many people are in your house, how many people are watching the TV, and you have to sign a waiver giving them permission to take that information from you and use it or sell it or whatever they want to do. Mm-hmm. But they'll give you a free 55-inch TV. If you don't give a shit about your privacy.
I thought that was already happening with a lot of the newer TVs that all had the technology.
Well, it probably is. That's the thing.
Around the same time, the video game was doing that thing where you could exercise in front of the game or whatever.
Yeah,
I forgot what that was. PlayStation. The Wii. Right around the time the Wii came out, that technology was getting pretty hot, and they were starting to incorporate it. And I've even heard like our dishwashers are talking to them and, whatever. Sure. It's the tech is being built into this stuff, but this thing's next level, what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, dude, it's this level. Because think about like, you see more and more of the refrigerators that are AI or internet enabled. Why does your fucking refrigerator need to have communication with the internet? Except for it's telling whoever wants to know what you're putting in your fridge, what your usage is, so that they could say, fatso, you can't have that anymore because, and they know what you're eating. Yeah. They know what you're putting in and they can control you that way.
They could give you a fat ass tax.
Yeah.
For not eating right.
Exactly. I mean, there's all kinds of craziness, but that's for next week.
Right. Cool. Kurt Cobain Part 2 next week.
Yes,
thanks guys for hanging through my long good night tales here.
Yeah, no, it's all good. That was fun.
Was.
No Seth show tomorrow for anybody that watches me there. Seth is on vacation, so I won't be back until the CMS on whatever day that is, Saturday. Yep, and I think that might be it. So,
all right.
Unless you got something, do you got something else?
Go check out Sea Glass Hunters on YouTube. I'm like 60 people away from being monetized on YouTube. It doesn't cost you guys anything, but if you could do me a favor, a little flavor there, go over to YouTube to my Sea Glass Hunters show and just subscribe for me, so I could get to 100 peeps, and then I can
make those extra millions.
Well, I mean, it's not like they're giving me any money in super chats tonight, cheap bastards.
Oh, we didn't ask either.
Well, we forgot to ask, but but also
that's right. Fright Bite.
Do you have the thing for that? Oh, you don't.
I don't, but
I made a cool poster for the Fright Bite.
Real quick while you tell us about it.
Right. The Fright Bite has been chosen, folks. And this Thursday, Count Cracula is going to make his way from Transylvania all the way to my condo. He is going to appear and he's going to do the Fright Bite movie watch along with Chris Akin here. And the movie will be Meth Gator.
Meth Gator. And why don't I see the thing? Is it on your subscriber page?
It's not on my subscriber page. Let me. I could text it to you really fast.
Then I gotta email it.
Okay,
we'll put it on the socials so that you guys can see it. Yeah, but, Meth Gator on Thursday, 2 days from now, 8 p.m. Eastern.
You want to watch that? You got to be a Caps local, or head over to my Facebook. If you can't find the link to my subscriber group, just inbox me and I'll send you the link. It's only $1 to be on my Facebook group. You get the ticket to the Fright Bite every month, and every show I do with Stephen Piercy, you get my own tour recap.
Right.
It's usually like 5 or 10 minutes, and you get every show I play that's on there for those
Very
folks.
good. So there you go. You can join us again on Thursday, or me. You can join me on Thursday with the count for Meth Gator. So that should be fun. And then Saturday, and then we'll be back here Tuesday.
And the Rumble channel, remember we moved Rumble channels, so make
That's
sure
right.
you're actually subscribed to the Rumble.
Yeah, it's rumble.com/C/Chris Akin Presents.
Yep. Give us love on YouTube and Rumble. If you,
Yes.
you can actually be subscribed to both, folks.
Yes, and please be subscribed to both. Why don't you do that? Just because it helps us out. All right, and that's going to do it. So let's get out of here. Thank you, everybody, as always, for putting up with our bullshit. And we will see you next Tuesday. All right, we will see you. Bye.
Eric with his mohawks fighting wild. Beach lives in West, living like a child. Chris ate those crickets, man, he's in hell. Streams of bacon